Hi there and welcome. It is January the 5th and quite a day on the markets today. A lot of it fairly predictable, but in saying that, it's always, in a day like today, it's a day of patience and finally it comes. And we tried to make a point earlier yesterday. I think we talked about expectations, and the fact that the minutes are a reprise of what happened at the Fed meeting. So it was a given that what was going to be said. It was just the question of the severity and how the market took it. And then it all collapsed on itself. So if you remember, we'd been talking about that for the last few days, and not to get too caught up in the day-by-day minutia, and that's what can happen, as far as what happened. And a good point was the way we interpreted what Cash Carey said yesterday. I know it's getting a lot of word on CNBC, but basically just went along with the plan. And earlier this morning we had that monster ADP number. So remember, that's the part of their big thing. But it's also not a given. It's the way the market reacted. It was very top heavy. We achieved that 3 trillion day in Apple, and we're basically sold off since then. So all in all, a pretty good day, don't you think, mate? Madavi there?
Yeah, and today was a great day, It was one I was been waiting for a long time. Had a plan together that I was going to execute, As always is, I get caught up in some stuff and I didn't execute as planned. So I'm disappointed about my trading and the outcome of it, but the day was wonderful.
You still had a very good day, though. I guess we just didn't take fully advantage of it. That's true.
Yeah, so in the morning I did those 2 trades, but then I text them to you. It was the IMMX and what was the other one? I'm looking up. So they were these biotech stocks, high flyers. So I got in them, did pretty good on them, and then I was trading the futures with it, mostly the NQs. The NQs were just ripping today. I mean, well, they were really
quite violent.
Yeah, and the other stock was the MYNZ.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I caught the last 2 points of that. I got out right before the market opened, and that thing dropped 5 points after that. So
that's a lesson, isn't it, to many that trade some of these high flyers pre-market? They can be just one way, and you've got to really watch the order flow to get out. Otherwise, you can be come what's called a bag holder. There's plenty of bag holders out there right now, no doubt, right? With today's sell-off, we were watching the new lows go by, and a lot of names that are big names over the last 12 months are chopped in half, 60%. Quite dramatic, actually.
Well, I mean, for the last 2 years, there's never been a time where we never had like a 5-10% sell-off. Like 2 years, we never had that. So there's got a lot of catching up to do now, I believe.
That's true, but you made a good point about a month ago that we actually have had a bear market. We are in a bear market in many other different areas, and one is some of these tech stocks. And by tech stocks, I mean, I think I did a tweet today. It drives me to distraction when everything gets called growth stocks. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a valuation. And if you're not making money, you don't have the money, and it's all in one way. It's basically pass the parcel. And what happens, instead of saying, because all these people are left bag holders in many cases, instead of saying, you know what, that's a bad trade, so value, oh, that's growth, or the market. In reality, as we said, we're hardly rising much on the stock market as far as, interest rates. And what we're talking about is 2 rates this year off a very low base, right? So the question then becomes liquidity. So you've got to ask yourself, if you're affected, if your investment is affected so dramatically by these moves, then you got to question, okay, why I'm in that. But in reality, all these things, most of them fell, what, 3 or 4 months ago, which you recognised earlier. So they're already been in their bear market. A lot of these things, right? I mean, look at what's going by right now.
Things are going to beat up. And one thing we should have done earlier was the VIX. I mean, I told myself next time that I'm just going to load the hell up on the VIX. The VIX was down to like $17.
Actually,
The
I hate to tell you, it was under that. But
I think the low of the day was 1760. I'm showing.
oh, was it yesterday? Yeah, I'm thinking about the VIX XX or whatever. Yeah.
We're talking about the VIX. I'm talking about the stock. You're talking about the index.
Yeah. The same thing though. They were definitely down.
Yeah,
And
they're supposed to mimic each other, but different prices. There's one of them is a stock that mimics that in the movements supposedly.
right versus the futures.
Yeah.
And a good play. There's a buddy that I follow on Twitter, and he did a tremendous call last week. He started buying all those IWM, which is the
So
ETF of the Russell. Puts last week, and also some S&P ones, but basically that. And that was the thing, I think, when I say we have a pre-game, little things like that, when it's a slow day and you're really bullish, it's easy not to put those on because you want to be buying puts when no one else is buying them, and you want to buy calls when no one else is buying them. As far as the value with that type of trade that we're talking about. And that was the other one we talked about this morning, and we didn't execute it properly. But nice trades. Other than that, as far as, well, let's go through the charts.
yeah, the
So
market is wonderful, but my trading, I'm kind of disappointed in myself because I didn't execute what I should be doing at this level of trading by now.
right, so it's easy to be distracted, particularly the start of the year. So we're both guilty of that, I think. But at the end of the day, we did pretty good. So hopefully everyone did. So we'll start off with, we've been talking ad nauseum about the S&P daily. So we had the channel. Remember we talked about this morning on the hourly. It couldn't get over it. It's more specific on the daily. We had this pennant that had a false move, and we broke down the bottom. Remember, it was saying to get an ABC, you needed to at least stay in this square box, this flag. We got that, and look what we did. We broke through that high, but we also broke the Tenkan. So the daily Tenkan, which is 47.03 right now. Now this is the cash. The Spurs is obviously lower, meaning we are under the 4700 on S&P. We don't get support down here to the 50, and the Cajun with the cloud all the way down here. So if we look at this whole thing should be a fall, right? A corrective wave, but we need this to play out and to get bullish again. Remember, we didn't get bullish till down here last time. Remember, I think we added it, but we added once it broke all this. So that's real. We also, don't forget, we had this event today, and we got the jobs number on Friday. So what tends to happen before the big numbers, you get a big wash one way and then a wash the other way. The question I have, was this the wash up the other day, and is this the wash down? Or are we still too long or too short? I'm talking about the small investor. We know with all the 401ks and the leverage money, how long it is, but as we were saying, a lot of the crap or the trashy stocks are really getting damaged already.
I mean, one thing that's interesting, right before the Fed move came out, I knew to clear out of all my positions because they started ripping like 100 points up, then 100 points down. If you
Oh,
look
I
at the
remember
daily,
that. Yeah.
I was like, mate, we clear out because we're going to go really fast right before the Fed comes. And
Yeah.
I put it way out there, like 100 points out on the NQs. I got filled short. I made, I tried to take a little bit of heat, but then I got back. We did it back and forth. We did pretty good on that trade, mate.
Right. Yeah, that was a nice one. And I remember I got some crazy fill on some puts around there too, because what
The
happens is the market makers pull out. And you
I
see
mean,
that about a minute to 2 minutes before.
right before 11 o'clock, we should see that move. I don't know if you can see it on the chart. Yeah, we should be able to see it's a huge move.
Yeah, I think you got to go 5 minutes. Let's have a look.
So maybe do the minute. You could probably see how big that move really was.
Right. Let me
Because
just.
then it lasts all about a minute, right?
Yeah. It was pretty dang. Yeah, let me
Maybe
get the
do it.
minute. And so yeah, there's lots of little tricks we often get asked. They're not really tricks. Most things are just common sense. And like, what I kind of, what really I guess is aggravating to us is kind of just old, more seasoned, been around the block a few times, is when you get the same blokes that have been putting in people stocks ramming about them like over a year and then always uh, double, what do you call it? Like averaging. Um, let's see if we can find this. This is 1 minute. And now ultra bearish after events like this. It doesn't
Hey,
really help the cause.
so do you see that green
Where
bar
is
right
it?
there?
That's
Clock?
one here, right?
Yeah, this the one right there. It should be right around 10 something. You see it? It's the biggest green,
Yeah, 102. So that's it. That's
and then
11 your time.
tankage. Right afterwards, we tanked that whole way. We tanked twice
Yeah,
as
this
much.
is where you put a silly order out on the NAS and got filled,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I had a bid on
yeah.
some puts on the Spider
Even though
and
I put
Apple.
some way out of the money, I mean, way out of the money. I mean, I got filled and still had to take a little bit of heat because it went up a little bit more.
Right.
But
Well, you're on the NAS too. This is the spoof. So NASDAQ was like a 70 handle move.
well, yeah,
This is like a
same thing, but not
12
as
handle move.
crazy as the Nasdaq.
Nah, well, here's what's in it. So let's look at this while we got the 1 minute up. So we can't, and this went all pretty well perfectly technically, as we said earlier. And then the order flow picked up really well as well. Which is what I was talking about. But we look at these bounces; they're negligible. This is your biggest bounce, and that is, well, that's a decent one. That's about 12 handles. And this is where I like putting on puts, right? The hard thing is, well, here, the reason puts have been kind of easy this time around, vol is still really cheap. I mean, the VIX is still, what, 19 or something? 1973 it went out at. I mean, so, but when you got really high VIX, just a little move like this distorts your puts. But if you got conviction and reasons for it, that helps you out. Have a strategy, which is what the point we're trying to get across. But that's your 1 minute. Where is that? Here? Yeah. And so if you look at the NASDAQ, this is the look that never even came back. That's that move right there on the Nasdaq. See that? That's a 5 minute chart. Look at that. That's that one you're talking about. And actually, it looks like it hit a few some orders up there. If you look at that pattern, but we just sold off all day on that, and we dropped out of bed. That's right before the close, 5 minutes before the close. But look how it just chased down that tank and it couldn't get over it. This is the kiss of death, classic. And you'll get, as you get more familiar with Ichimoku, you will get to follow that and learn from it. And what it actually means and how to recognize it. But nice move down there. And then the Russell, which is the IWM, is how we traded that. So this is the Russell 2000, just a straight up one. It did the same thing. Look at that. The thing is there, and I actually completely forgot about this trade till about here, wasn't it? Is that about where I did the Russell? Yeah, way down here too. And even here, that was a double on your puts. Obviously, if I bought it here, like my buddy, he did it actually higher than this a few days ago. I mean, it was, he was a sensational trade. But there's reasons for them and risk and value for them. And the other reason, don't forget with puts and calls, you have a limited stop loss. Basically the most you can lose what it costs you. What other? And Apple, here's Apple versus Spoosh. So that's that high, the 3 trill, and it's come down. And look at that. Finally, the Spurs just had to give it up. But the clear thing was right here when it broke that trend line.
You look at the VIX, it was kind of matched at the same time when the VIX really started moving in the morning, but in the afternoon started really getting going. And
Yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, can I get the VIX on this?
yeah, you should just do the VXX, just do the
I don't know
stock.
what's on. Let's see. Chart. Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, if not, just do the one that kind of shows the mimics of it.
Okay, let's put the VIX in here. So let's see what they call it on Sierra, huh? No, I didn't say Siri. I said Sierra. Did you hear that? This is it here. Do you hear that? Give it a rest, Siri. Um, so we got to download it because I haven't had it up before. So this
VXX.
is the VIX today.
Yeah. Look
Look
at
at the
that.
1 minute. If you
Morning, it
want it,
didn't
right?
do much. It was actually down a little bit on the day. Then it just took off.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Look at that. So it was down. This is 18. Well, let's go a little bit. Let's go 5 minutes.
Gold's down a little bit. I guess now it just dropped.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah, it's down 4 points. But the funny thing is today, where Bitcoin and everything sold off, they gold was all the money was pouring into gold at one point.
Yeah, I know. It's had a good bounce since it held 1800 the other day. I mean, it's up at 1820 something earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
Look at this. This
yeah.
is the vol when it broke here, but it actually charts pretty well. That's minus 1/8 that line. So, and it accelerated. Obviously, didn't do anything, but you called that trade right here, right in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, right
Look at
there.
that, just mowed it up. I didn't do it. Should have
I
done it,
should
obviously.
have done what I was gonna tell myself what I was gonna do the whole time.
Yeah, how I did that was more I bought puts. That was my. But yeah, we should have done that one. And there is options on that. Don't forget, people. You can trade it the futures, which is what that is. You can trade it the ETFs, which is what Madavi's talking about. There's multiple ways, or you can just use your optionality. You can buy volatility. Um, and,
Chips
and
too.
Nvidia is another one. This one is just decimated, people. This is down from here. That's 315, and remember, it could never fall. Well, we went out today at 275. So it's a $40 fall. So to me, that's more growth. That's a quality company that can take part, but it's still dramatically overvalued. I just think it's wrong to put in things that are pure speculation. That's always, and it saved me a lot of money having that attitude, I think, right? When do I ever buy that stuff? I like shorting it though, let's be honest. So let's go quickly to Apple, and we'll come back to more stuff about the bond market and things. But look at our stocks. I mean, to the oil. So oil today had its Wednesday, so it had its weekly storage report from the Department of Energy. And what happened was we had a bigger build in gasoline and a smaller draw than what the API was. But it was pretty well on target. It was a bigger build. But this time of the year, as we kept cautioning, last week in December, and the last 2 weeks, it's all tax assessment time for accrued inventory, meaning you want to get rid of the inventory. So, hence, massive production on gasoline. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Technically, look what we hit. It was a great sell we were able to do. And this was before the whole Fed minute thing. It went right to the 50, which has been a great sell, even here when it went through it. And then, obviously, we sold off after it on the fin. So that was a good nearly $2 trade there. So that's our daily. And you can see from there, you got your 5, you got your cloud below it. below it, which is your target. We come quickly to the hourly, you can see it even more. So look this is what we made on that long, if you remember, those triple highs. We broke up, again, plus 2.8. This is all just maths and technical combined with your fundamental. And look how we sold off that level. Then here we are at 1. You had the minutes, and that just fed on itself because then it becomes a risk asset, right? And if we go to the 5 minute, didn't quite get to R2 to get you really excited. But here's that see, this is no different to the daily on the S&P. When you see something come back through previous highs that are significant, meaning a lot of people bought in on that, a momentum, algos, whatever, bang. And if you read up on Paul Tudor Jones, one of his great trades is what I call a spit, is going the other, because that's how he would have to get filled when he was really big. So look at that. It didn't even look back. Look at that, Madawi. Just straight down. Beautiful. Kind of like the VIX, actually. Natty gas.
The VIX was
up. Sorry.
The VXX was just at 28 like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they could start flying really fast. But
yeah, actually, you know what I'm seeing hit lows in the aftermarket? MVIS, remember that? That was another high flyer. So you're seeing a lot of these stocks just get pummeled that are people who buying into.
To raise money, and those stuff happens, those things.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. They've got to raise money when they can before liquidity goes away. So natty gas each day has been up and down on weather models. And that's why I always caution you. If you're not even if you're from natural gas, I've seen so many people destroyed by natural gas who are professional. You are punting on weather, so use your chart so you know where the order flow is. And again, look what it did. We got colder again. We're going to be colder for longer. Here we're going to get warmer. I mean, in other words, the whole weather thing, no one has any bloody idea, really. End of story. So it's not worth looking much past that. But yeah, what a really a nice day. Let's go back to that VIX and just... Where'd my VIX chart go? Which one is it? Oh, here we are. Sorry. But look at that, dominated. And so if you're trading options or you're trading futures, this is a great indicator. If you're trading options, so that means your put's going to go up, because remember there's a put skew as well. But it does tell you where there's fear or people are caught long or whatever, right, in today's move. Now, generally, VIX goes down when markets go up unless the market gets caught really short. That's a great chart. I'll just put this up while we're... So let's go through other things of today other than... So we went through the markets real quickly. But and this is going to be interesting, so before the minutes came out, Europe closed. And everywhere was up except for Spain. Spain was flat again. France hit another record high. Now, one would expect, unless some miracle happens in Asia tonight, that those things will reverse tomorrow. Most likely situation. The dollar was closed down as the index on the day. In fact, we can bring that up. On a minutes or Fed day, always important to look at the currencies. So the dollar ran up. If you look at dollar yen, broke over 116, which would have been a long move. It corrected all the way down to 115.5 yesterday. And by the end, so remember, this going up means dollar up, yen down. That corrected. So the dollar did well against there. Against the euro, you can see, it's hard to see on that chart, but there you go. So you can see the dollar got bid after the minutes, but not enough to overcome to be up on the day. So that's your forecast. And I kept the Turkish lira up here to look at, because this is your example of when it all goes wrong and government intervention. So that this is going up means the lira is collapsing. Erdogan got involved. Remember that? He promised every Turkish citizen to have all their money. Then it collapsed. So the market's caught long, short, and the lira's been weakening ever since. That's a lot to do with inflation and also speculation. So that's where we really need to look at that. Okay, let's have this up while we talk. This is the 1 minute. Let's make that's 1 minute while we're talking, but that's okay. So gold, as we said, closed up $10, but you were saying it just came off $4.
Yeah, $4.
Silver closed up a tad. Now, if we go to the Dow had been up. What day is this? The third day of the year. So it was 2 for 2, 3 for 3 to this morning. It actually put in a new all-time high this morning. The Fed happens, and it finished up being down nearly 400 points on the day. The S&P hit a new all-time high yesterday, 48.18, and it was. Did it ever get up today? I don't think it did it? It might have for a small period, but anyway, it finished down almost 100, 92 handles, but it closed as far as cash goes at 4,700. So it doesn't sound much in the sense that it's only 118 points off the high, but it did it all today, really, right? The Nasdaq was the big one. That was down 520 points today, or 3.3%. That's a big move. So, and to put that in perspective, how much this sell-off has been, that's 7% now from its all-time high. 7%. And just imagine where that would be if you hadn't had Apple and Microsoft. I know they're off big today, hit those big levels. And didn't we see Qualcomm go up today, hit 52-week highs? And let's actually, Johnny's not here, but we're going to look at Bitcoin because this was a pretty easy trade. We put this on Twitter. So that's a 60. We've been talking about this for a while. Remember that channel it's been in? We actually put it out there. If it breaks this, then it's either whether it's going to hide or to puke. Well, it puked all right. And this move here is $4,000. Right? So that's Bitcoin. That was all in, the matter of 20, 30 minutes? The question is, has that broken down or was that the target? Let's look at a daily. Where is better, Johnny?
6.
That's right, yeah. He doesn't feel too good looking at this, but we've nearly retraced that whole big, remember that big dump it had? We've come nearly all the way back to it. And that's what often happens. And that's why I put up the Turkish one a minute ago. This is what often happens. It comes back and retests it. So we've come all the way, and this is its breakup point. We retested here, test there. If we break all this gets really messy for this little thing. We are now under the 50. We're obviously well under the Tenkan and the Cajun, but we need to hold the top of this. It needs to regain this 50, or there's no support to this little crevice here in the cloud, and then the cloud base. If this all gives way, this is obviously a classic double top, right? There's so many things have that pattern. So that's Bitcoin today, and obviously broke down. So the other thing we noticed more than anything was, and these have been the darling of the fast set crowd, which we're not part of. We're not cool enough, Madonna. But the Ark of the Covenant group, Kathy Woods group.
She bought more Robinhood today.
Yeah, I saw that, more Robinhood, and she bought something else, didn't she? Of that ilk. But it's crazy. These numbers are they may have finished lower. I'm not sure, but
I guess it's not your money. You can buy anything.
That's true. But she's hoping for intervention. So RK, which I believe is the main one, the technology that was down 7% today, or $6. ArcG, which is the genomics one, I believe, that was down 6.5%. ArcX, I think that's the space one, that was only down 3%. ArcF, is ArcF the internet one? Which is probably, or I think that's the one Hood's in. That was down 7%, 6.9%. And ArcW was down 6.4%. These are all today, and these are more than double in some cases what the Nasdaq fell. Apple itself was down 2.6%, nearly $5. It's down $5 right now, I believe. Yeah. So there's some real money lost. I mean, let me go through this. I mean, some of these stocks just as we're looking right now on the high low. So you've got big lows here. What did I just say? MVIS, Palatar, that's another one of those tech ones. Snap, that's another one. These are all big lows or 52-week lows. Billy, which is one of the Chinese companies, that's $37. Cook, which I actually had at one stage because I love my my barbecue out there from Trader, and that's what that is. Wow. So that's a good reason to take profit. As much as I loved it, that's now a third of what we sold it for. Can you believe that? When was that IPO? 3 or 4 months ago? Here, Madaba still has a big short on this one, I believe. Peloton, $32. $32.
That's a winner, all right.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one. But it was kind of obvious. I mean, they're hard to stay in them when they get up there. But sorry, man.
Just the amount of dilution that CEO does, that stock could never go up.
Which one's that, Palantir or Peloton?
Yeah, man. The guy just all it does is dilute. He sold $1 billion worth of stock on a company that loses money.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, that brings me to a point so what was interesting with Elon, how much does he sell? 50 billion?
15 billion.
I mean, that's quite an impressive amount. And yet the market kept buying up on it. So if you think about it logically, if that amount of money's gone out of the market, someone else is buying it. And whether it's by options or whatever, it's still pushing the price up or around, right? And yet we've held it. But I guess that's still holding up pretty well. On that, before the FOMC, Ford and GM were hitting 52-week highs, weren't they?
I mean, Eli doesn't really sell too much stock compared to the guy who's got first year his company came out, he sells $1 billion worth, and the company doesn't make money.
Right. Well, what I meant was, what do you call it?
Okay.
No, the other one, Tesla. Damn, it's been a long day. Tesla went up though, whereas that one's just been falling. Yeah.
Money, unlike the other one.
Yeah, it is making money now. Man, but every time I get on Twitter or something, there's always a conspiracy against Musk and Tesla.
He's made a lot of investors rich compared to other guys, made everybody poor.
Right. There's been a lot of that though, with some of these companies.
Like you can't complain about it if you've been an investor for a few years.
No, as far as Tesla goes, that's true. Even the guys that were caught short, some of the big guys are like, okay, you got me. What was his name? Jim Chanos and guys like that. That was like his one big one he lost on. Remember that? And he was like, okay, I'm out of here.
Go to Tesla one time, and I got I never lost so much money so quick.
I remember that. That was that earnings where the first one they announced they made a profit, right?
Holy shit. That was like a year's salary gone away.
Actually, I'm noticing here as Bitcoin gets trounced, Mara hitting new lows, Riot. So these are a lot of stocks that people have money in that don't have earnings, and so if everyone's the same way, and it's almost like a club, a lot of these stocks we're talking about, they're very culty. So if you tell each other, yeah, that's good, the market's wrong, doesn't make it right, but it makes them satisfied. It's like keeping up with the Joneses, right? If my neighbour loses money in the stock market, it's all right if I do. It's kind of that mentality. We're still going down after hours here if you're watching it, people. We are just hitting new lows on the QQQs, the Nasdaq futures, the SPY, and the SPX futures. So this is your late New York, this is futures just open up again, obviously, but this is your early Wellington crowd selling off here. So it gives you an idea what Asia's going to do today. The astonishing thing to me is this Fed minutes was basically what happened 2 weeks ago. I mean, yes, there was a bit more hawkish language in it, but it's the same thing. So interesting that it caught so many people by surprise. I'm looking at a put. I just look at the chart, up 203%. I had an Apple today. Wow. Nice.
The market doesn't trade in the future. Seems like it's trading into the now because the markets are changing so fast.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So news-wise, we talked about the oil. We had also out today. Worth noting too with the bonds so the 10-year came up 4 basis points today, and we're still looking at new lows on the S&P futures there. Which means the rate hike, that went to 67.8%. That's a rate hike in March. We're in January, so we're talking 2 meetings away. That was 59.7% yesterday, and around Christmas that was 27.1%. So keep in mind, this is all with Omicron going on. I think a lot of people just thought there's no way they're going to raise rates and hurt liquidity in Omicron. That they are, which also, whether they do or not is another thing, but they're talking about it. But it just shows you that there's a disconnect between the White House, the administration, and the Federal Reserve. Okay, let's look at that was significant. So the 2-year, which basically tracks the Fed funds, which we're just talking about, rose 7 basis points today to 0.83. So remember, they're still low interest rates. Let's be realistic, right? But still, the 10-year is up at 1.71%, and there's a lot of bets going on that to get to 2%. The ADP we talked about, 807,000 jobs. That's a hot sector. Up from a downwardly revised 505,000 from the previous month. And so that was a big change, right?
Yeah, that was a good job, bro. It kind of almost threw me off wanting to go long and stay long.
Right. So again, it just shows you it was hard because you think, oh, that's a good economy, but then obviously it means rates rising are the biggest thing here because look, Apple right now, I'm watching in the aftermarket, it's 174.20. What else do we have? The market services PMI came in slightly lower at 57.6 versus 50.8. 58, sorry. And another thing I've been keeping a track on is the mortgage applications. They've been falling. That's also a symptom of people not wanting to pay higher interest rates or being scared to take out a loan. 5.6% fall in applications this week. And as we said with the Fed, what caused the damage was in that there's a paragraph discussion of policy normalization considerations, and they noted in it that the participants judged that the appropriate pace of a balance sheet runoff would likely to be faster than it was during the previous normalizations period. The reasoning not only includes the fact that the balance sheet is much larger, in other words, we've printed so much more money, or certainly bought more bonds, right? But also, sorry, man.
You know how high that's going to push rates to when they got all the bonds they got to
Yeah,
sell?
I mean, if they do all that, the economy's crushed, I would say. I mean, we're on tenter hooks right now. Supply issues, people haven't recovered from 2008, let alone the COVID thing, the lockdowns. So it gets you, you rich get richer, you poor get the picture kind of thing. Um, what was the other thing they said? Oh, yeah, and at the same point, the current economic outlook is much stronger than before, but that can turn on its head. I mean, look at, and it's interesting. We were watching England today, where Johnson said he's trying to try to keep everything going and all that. But if you're testing someone every day, I mean, part of this is there's so many tests, isn't it? And yes, it's not as deadly, but if people can't go to work, how's the whole thing going to work? And then if we shut them off, I mean,
There's no test out there to buy.
right. But what I mean is, if all of a sudden they've wrecked the market and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money for whatever reason, or they lose confidence, which was Bernanke's big thing. Consumer confidence is the number one thing. There's
Well,
more people in the market now than ever. It gets pretty messy.
you gotta remember one thing. This is a boom and bust economy. They'll give it to you, then they'll take it all back.
Yeah, the Lord giveth and taketh away, right?
Yeah,
Um,
so then they shift the money around to the next group, let them have a run, then they shift it back. So everybody a little churn of their, I don't know, the American dream they call it, I guess. I don't
right.
know.
Well, that's how the rich, as Midnight Oil said many years ago, the rich get richer, the poor get the picture. Read
Yeah,
about it, right?
they
The
just get a little
arcade thing.
once every 10 years.
So we've got a lot of that going on right now. Hi there, Muriel. If you got a question, just shout it out to us. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so that pretty well sums up everything that happened today. So what's going to happen from now? Well, you've got your levels on the charts. You need to be very clinical on those. Don't get emotional. You know where your support is. But you also know support can break away. So if you look at your waves and your Murray math, look at where it can go uh, mathematically, because we just saw in Bitcoin. I mean, that's probably the most violent of the lot and whimsical thing out there. And look what it's done. It's all very predictable. Remember, people are unpredictable in a predictable way. And then watch order flow. I mean, that's how Madavi picked up what do you call it? The Q short just perfectly. Remember, there was one out of nowhere. Actually, he did a long like that too, which was pretty sweet. So tomorrow we're going to have out the ISM services. They call that non-manufacturing. Versus, I'm not sure why. As far as I can understand, it's the same thing as the market one, which they call services, whereas the ISM calls their non-manufacturing. That's out tomorrow. We get the weekly initial and continuing claims and the trade balance, the US trade number, and that's been running at really big deficits again. Factory orders come out for the US, and also the natural gas inventories report is out tomorrow. So they're expecting a much smaller draw than last time. But what's running natural gas right now is weather, those weather models, which, it's an old saying. The only blokes I've ever seen really understand the weather are farmers, surfers, and fishermen. The meteorologists and the punters, it's a whole different world. And so, yeah, a good question. There could be some opportunity here, but I would let the market tell you. Don't just try and catch it a knife, particularly if it's a company that doesn't make money, doesn't pay a dividend. If you buy an Apple, at least you know you're getting a dividend. If you buy Neo, which is a question here, as it hits two lows, Neo A's in China, be there an EV, getting pressure right there in that sector. And I believe they don't make any money, do they? Right, have you watching the so there's a lot of good names hitting lows here. A lot of this is probably margin selling or people getting short for tomorrow. Any other thoughts, mate? I think we've covered everything pretty well. What's going on? So we will catch everyone tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. I hope everyone did well, or at least if you're the wrong way, survived it. If you got hurt today, just channel it, move on. Don't get emotional about it. Try not to. Just remember the market is always right? And the big thing why we kind of preach is look at market psychology, watch order flow, and the charts we use in Murray Math and Ichimoku, etc., is all about following letting you know where people are, right? So keep an eye on that. Try not to get into a coldish group. What I mean by that is, if you're all in the same thing and you all love the same thing, say you're all Tesla mad or Starbucks, whatever it may be, try and get different opinions from different peoples and different groups. That would be my thought for the day. Watch the vol. There will be opportunities on puts and calls. And that's about it from us. Thank you for listening. Follow us on the socials, Traders.com and Madavi4. Like and share. That's wonderful. If you like it, and anything you'd rather hear, more explanation or more concentration on different things, just let us know. Have a great evening. See you tomorrow.